ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि। ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ॐ समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ। सर्ववेदान्त सिद्धान्त गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। Hari Om everybody. Last week we saw the analysis, we did the analysis of dream. The three states are being discussed. They are extremely important in understanding the Vedantic philosophy, the Advaita philosophy. I have told you that our rishis, the objective scientists, do research in the objective world, how to bring more and more comforts to the physical body. But our rishis did research on the equipments that we have, which are the body, mind, and intellect. So they went inside, introverted, and that's what they studied. They studied the actual physical body, the mind, the intellect, the ego, and these koshas, these layers are divided into three different bodies: gross, subtle, and causal. So we did the gross body, and we have the dream happens through the subtle body because the gross body is totally at rest in deep sleep, and that's when dream happens. And we saw that the dream is seen on the screen of the mind, by the mind, created by the mind, and it ends in the mind. So it dissolves, the whole thing dissolves in them. It comes from the mind and it ends back, goes back into the mind. And this is at the individual level. What the ultimate understanding of Advaita Vedanta is exactly the same at the total level. So the creation has come from that supreme reality. It exists for a while, like the dream exists for a while, and ultimately it will merge back into the supreme reality. So this is the individual dream, the creation, the cycle of creation that happens in every time we dream. There is exactly what happens at the individual level is exactly same that is happening at the totality level. Of course, at the individual level, they say that dreams don't last more than a minute or a minute and a half. At the total level, they last for many, many, many thousands of years. That is the only difference. Okay, so we also saw that in dream, the weaker vasanas are exhausted. So when the vasanas are there, the weaker ones fructify in dream. And that is why we feel fear, we feel happiness, we feel sadness. All these experiences that we get in dream, they are exhausting our vasanas. And it's in a way, it is good. Because when we exhaust that vasana in dream, we are not creating anything new. In dream, because there is no doership, nothing, no new vasanas are created. In the waking state, when we act because of our vasana, because of the vasanas, dream is coming, right? Whatever is in the vasanas is being seen in the dream. Same way, in the waking world, whatever is in the vasanas is coming as a thought, and that thought is being acted upon. But in the waking state, because I take doership, because I take ownership of that action, I exhaust one vasana, but at the same time, I create a new one as well. So that creation of new vasana is not in dream, it is only in the waking state. And that is why there is the cycle of birth and death. So we create new vasanas which have to be exhausted. And to exhaust those vasanas, we need a world, we need a birth, we need to act again to exhaust those vasanas. And that's how the cycle carries on. Generally, it is said that those who have a lot of dreams, their mind is very rajasic. As sattva develops, as that is one of the indications, if you want to know, am I becoming more and more sattvic, then your dreams should be less and less. There should be more deep sleep when you sleep, and the dreams should be less. Okay. So then the description of the subtle body continued by Bhagwan giving us an example of the carpenter's tools. Just like the carpenter has his tool, but he is not the tools. Same way, we have the subtle body, we have the mind, intellect stuff to act in this world, but we are not the mind, intellect. We are not the cross body, we were told, and we are also not the subtle body. Don't think that the mind is what, this is how I think that I am the mind, but it is not, that is not correct. And then Bhagwan went on to say that the andhatva, mandatva, so blindness in the eye or deafness in the ear, that is all belonging to the upadhi, that is belonging to the instrument. It is not belonging to the owner of the instrument. Just like if the microwave were not to work or the bulb were to fuse, it has got nothing to do with electricity. Same way, all this low power and all this belongs to the upadhi. It doesn't belong to electricity. It doesn't become fused. Electricity, we cannot say that microwave is not working. That means electricity is not working properly. Same way, eye is not working properly because of age. The eyes cannot see clearly, need glasses, but that doesn't mean supreme consciousness needs glasses or supreme consciousness is losing its vision. It doesn't mean like that. That is what he says here. So these are the dharmas, these are the qualities, these are the attributes of the sense organs. They have got nothing to do with me. And so I should never be understood as I am nothing. It should, that is wrong. That is absolutely wrong. If you think that I negate all this and then I will be nothing, that is not correct. Okay. Then he goes on to the prana. Prana, I told you, is considered by Gurudev, considered as subtle body, but there are some masters who consider it as the gross body because they say that you can feel, you can, perceive the prana, right? The breath coming out of the nostrils, you can perceive it. So they say gross, it's okay. Doesn't matter. It in our chart, I told you it comes between the B and the M. It's in between. The pranas are in between there. And then some masters, so Gurudev has taken pranas as the subtle body. So we take pranas as the subtle body, and pranas are controlling the physiological functions in the entire body. So this exhalation, inhalation, digestion, circulation, these are the functions of the pranas. They have got nothing to do with me. Hunger and thirst belong to the pranas. So when I feel hungry and I say I am hungry, I am identifying with my pranas. And that's why when the yogi, the meditator, he transcends the level of the prana, he doesn't feel hungry anymore because he has transcended that. When he transcends the mind, he doesn't feel any joy or sorrow. When he transcends the intellect, he does not feel that he's intelligent or he's dull because he has transcended that. All those functions, all those attributes belong to those layers. So as we transcend those layers, then we will come to know at that point. Right now, we know only intellectually. We just have jnana, we just have knowledge, we don't have experience. But that is how the experience will be of a realized master or a nanny. But then the nanny says that I'm not the body, I'm not the pranas, I'm not the mind, I'm not the intellect, but I am Satchitananda. He doesn't say I am nothing. So that part has to be remembered. Now we come to a very, very important topic, ego. Ego is the one that is actually just standing between us and God. That's it. A very simple way of putting this is that if we can take care of the ego, we are God, we are Satchitananda. That's the only thing. But having said that, it is the most difficult to get rid of. In the Mahabharata, Duryodhan represents ego. It's Mahabharata, we take it as a story, but when you turn it subjectively, Duryodhan is the ego, and we see in the story that he was the last one to get killed. He died the last. He was the 100th brother to die. All his 99 brothers died, and then it was him. So that is what tells us that how difficult it is to conquer the ego. So to conquer something, we are always ahead. If we know what the strength of the enemy is, then we can deal with it. And that's why the ego is now being discussed. The funny thing is that we are going to say that this ego is illusory, and yet we are going to describe it to like till the cows come home. And the reason for that is that even though it is illusory, it is the one that is deluding us constantly. And it is the one that is most difficult to get rid of. So the more we come to know of this enemy, it's an enemy of ours. Ego is our enemy. That is what is pulling us down. That is what is keeping us away from realization. That is what is keeping us from recognizing myself to be that Satchitananda reality. So the more we come to know about the ego, the more we can tackle it, the better we can tackle it. And that's why the ego is now being discussed. Okay. So 103, verse number 103. Antakaranameshu chakshurādishu varshmani ahamityabhimanena tishtatyabhasa tejasa. The inner equipment has its seat of expression in the sense organs, such as the eye, etc. Identifying with them, it exists, clothed in just the reflection of the Atman. Okay. So the inner equipment is the mind, intellect stuff. So it's mind, intellect, chitta, memory, and ego, ahankara. In the seat of expression is the eye, the sense organ. So when I say I see, I do, I smell, I talk, I walk, I run, that I is what is being talked about here. So the inner equipment has its seat of expression in the sense organs, such as the eye, etc. So when we say I, okay, we just take one eye, it includes all the other sense. So when I say I see, S-E-E, I see, that I is the ego. That is to be understood. It is not the supreme reality. Okay. Now, identifying with them, it exists, clothed in just the reflection of. Identifying with the sense organs means thinking that I am the one who is seeing. That is what identification in Sanskrit means tadatmya. Tadatmya word breaks into tad atma, and tad atma means that atma or that object or that whatever is me. Thinking that I am something else, that is identification. Okay. Ego, the definition, by definition, ego is defined as ego is identification with one thing or another. That is the definition, official definition of ego, is identification with one thing or other. And because this identification is happening, I say that I am fat or I am thin. What actually is that the body is fat or the body is thin, but I have now become one with the body. I have taken the body to be me. I have identified with this body and I say, I am fat. Okay. Identifying with the mind, I say I am happy, I am sad. Identified with the intellect, I say I am intelligent, I am dull. Identified with memory, I say I've become very forgetful. I can't remember things. Just like this, we saw in the previous verse, andhatva, etc., the blindness, the deafness belongs to the sense organs. Same way, this fat, thin, joy, sorrow, intelligent, not intelligent, belongs to the body, mind, and intellect. It does not belong to me, except this me has now identified, completely identified. There is a complete tadatmya with the body, mind, and intellect. And now the I, which is neither fat nor thin, which is neither happy nor sad, which is neither intelligent nor not intelligent, is saying, I am fat, thin, happy, sad, intelligent, non-intelligent. Everybody's getting this? We all say that, na? I'm tall, I'm short, I'm fat, I'm thin, we worry about our weight. Okay? All right. Now here, let's see this. It clothed in just the reflection of Atman. Reflection of Atman is to be understood very clearly here. So let us start with the example that Gurudev himself has given here. If a dark room is found to be illumined by a reflected beam. So there is a room which is very dark and the sunlight cannot enter it directly. So what I do is, outside there is sunlight, but it cannot enter directly somehow. I put a bucket of water at the door, you know, just outside the door, I put a bucket of water. What happens is the sun reflects in that water and the beam is then reflected into the dark room. Everybody gets this idea? Okay. Now that reflected beam is what illumines the dark room. It is not directly the sunlight, but it is because of the sunlight that that beam is happening. Do you get this point? If the sun was not there at all, where would the beam come from? Where would the reflection come from? It can't come. Everybody okay with this? So the sun is there outside. The sun is not directly entering the room. And so this bucket is facilitating the entry of that sunlight into the dark room. And now the dark room is fully illumined. Clear? All right. Now, this is the example. We apply to ourselves. The dark room is this body. Gross body, mind, intellect is the dark room. Sunlight is the supreme consciousness. Okay? The supreme consciousness does not directly enter the gross body. Just like the sunlight does not directly enter the room which is dark. Okay? What is happening is the bucket is the mind, and the water is the mind intellect stuff. You can say the bucket or you can say the water. The water is the medium in which the sun is reflecting. So that water is our mind in which the supreme reality is reflecting. And then that beam of light is entering the gross body and it is enlivening the gross body. We say it is lighting up the dark room. We can also say it is lighting up the body, in the sense, because that reflection is coming into the gross body can speak, the gross body can see, talk, run, walk, do whatever. So far, so good? Okay. Now, what needs to be understood is here, the question is that reflection, so let's take the example, reflection in the bucket of water, is that really real? That is the question. Okay. So what is real in Vedanta? That which does not change in the 3 periods of time. That's the definition of real. Huh? So real, don't think real. Oh yeah, of course it's real that the computer is there and it's real that, you know, the photo is there. No, it changes. Things change. So that reflection is a dependent reality. It is not an independent reality. Note these words. Dependent on what? So first of all, it is dependent on the sunlight. Because if the sun was not there only in the sky, would a reflection happen in the bucket of water? Okay. Suppose if somebody comes and empties that bucket out, throws the water away, will the reflection happen? Sun is there, but no water. Can the reflection happen? So the reflection has a reality, but it is a dependent reality. And because it is a dependent reality, we say it is illusory. We don't say it is false. We say it is illusory, because false is the horns on a hare, H-A-R-E, which means those horns never existed, or the son of S-O-N, son of a barren woman. No son of a barren woman can exist. So that is false. Okay. But mirage water is illusory because it is experienced at some point in time. Everybody clear on this? Understand this very carefully. This is the only thing that is keeping you away from God. This is that important, ego. And it plays havoc in our life. Then we get hurt, and then we get, you know, this, and every single problem that is in our life is because of the ego. So please, if you don't understand this, please tell me. Okay. So the reflection has a dependent reality. It does not have an independent reality like the sun does. Whether the bucket is there, whether the room is there, does it matter to the sun? Sun will go on shining. You remove the house, you destroy that room, you destroy the water, you throw the water out, you throw the bucket. What happens to the sun? Nothing happens to the sun. Like you unplug all your appliances in the house, what will happen to electricity? Do you think electricity is going to complain? Arey, why are you unplugging? I cannot live without this microwave. I love the range. I love the computer. Why are you taking it away? Does electricity say anything like that? Will electricity ever say anything like that? No, it doesn't. So the sunlight in the example, it's an example, huh? Because that whole example is also illusory, but forget that. So the sunlight is the real thing. The reflection is illusory. And this room is being enlivened or lit up because of that illusory reality. Okay. Now come to us. The supreme reality has an independent reality. Satchit Ananda has an independent reality. It does not change in the 3 periods of time. It is the same, we saw, it is the same in a blade of grass up to Brahmaji. It is not tall, short, happy, sad, nothing. It is this pure mass of homogeneous bliss. It is a mass of consciousness, existence, bliss, which is permanently existing, whether the bodies, the jivas, the animals, the earth and planets and sun, moon, whether they are there or not, it does not matter. The supreme reality is constantly existing. So that is the only real thing in this whole thing. Now, that supreme reality is reflecting in the subtle body. What is the subtle body? That's why he already explained. Mind, intellect, memory, chitta, and ego, ahankara. Okay. So that reflection is now being formed like the reflection in the bucket of water. That reflection, it's beaming the light. It's beaming that consciousness existence into this inert body. And now the body is all singing, dancing, walking, running, talking, seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, whatever the body is doing is because of that reflected light. You get this point? Any doubts? Okay. So identifying with them, it exists. Now, what is happening is there are four aspects to the mind, okay, to the subtle body rather. There's four aspects of mind: intellect, chitta, memory, and ego. Out of these four, the ego is the one which is the subtlest. In that ego, this reflection is happening. Actually, if you go to see, this ego is this reflection is happening in that ego. That reflection, now what is happening is that reflection, instead of realizing, instead of recognizing that mine is a dependent reality, I depend for my existence on the supreme reality. Instead of recognizing this, the ego says, I am the one that is real. I am the one that is doing. I am the one that is seeing, touching, tasting, everything. Forgetting that it itself doesn't have a real reality, a thing which does not have its own reality. How can whatever that thing does, how can it have a real reality? Can it? Can it? This ego takes it upon itself. I have given you an example previously also. I see a flower, the eyes note the color and the shape. They send that stimulus to the mind. Then the nose smells fragrance, smells the fragrance, and that fragrance goes into the mind. So the mind has an overall idea of the color, the shape. The hands, fingers go touch the petals, or maybe touch the stem of the rose, get pricked by the thorn, or the petals are very soft. Now that touch, that sensation also is in the mind. So the mind has got these three sensations: pink color, soft touch, thorny thorn, the thorn which hurt my skin, and then the smell. This data, this information is put to the intellect, and the intellect goes into its memory banks and says, hey, I know what this is. I have seen this before, or I have read about it before. It could be anything. I've given you a very simple example of flower. And then the intellect comes back and says, it is a rose. Okay. Now, what is all these things are actually functioning in the reflected light of the supreme consciousness. They are not functioning in the real light of the ego, of the reflection, because the light of that reflection is not really real, because it is dependent. It is dependent on the supreme reality. Except what happens is the ego steps in, says that I am the one that is real. So I saw the color and form. I smelled the fragrance. I decided that this was a rose, and I did. And now I am going to enjoy that rose.
Jayaji, question. When you say that this supreme consciousness is not real.
One second. I can't, one second. Let me just, I'll put my headphones. I can't hear you very well.
Oh.
Tell me.
Okay. When we say that, you said that this supreme consciousness is reflected, right, in us. So when we say soham, soham, then how can we realize that, because we are still reflected? In that saying soham, soham, that is to tell our mind that I am that, again and again, so that we realize that.
Correct.
But that itself in us is only reflected consciousness.
Exactly. And that is reflected, but I am not the reflected consciousness. I am the real consciousness. That Soham is a reminder. And therefore, Koham, which Raman Maharshi asks, he says, you decide who the I is. When I say I see, who is that I? Who is that I? What happens is we don't recognize it as the ego, and we go on fanning it. I am so great. I have decided this is my sankalpa for the new year. I'm going to do so much. I'm going to walk 20,000 steps a day. I'm going to, run every day. I'm going to get up at 5:30 every morning. And then we tell everybody also. And who is that I who is doing all this? Because the Supreme Consciousness doesn't do, is a non-doer. What my understanding should be that in the presence, in my presence, and when I say my, it's with a capital M. So in my presence, these actions are happening. I have got nothing to do with any of this. They are a play of the gunas. Now you will hear that in chapter 14 when Swami Ishwananji does it. They are happening because of the play of the gunas. I have got nothing to do with it. And that separation has to come immediately. When you get established in this knowledge, that separation will start coming. Until that separation comes, you are only wallowing in your own ego. I did this, I do this, I will enjoy, I will this, I. It's Gurudev used to call it the small I. And Soham, the meditation on Soham is to remind us, I am not the small I am the big I. I am the non-doer. In my presence, everything is happening. I am not doing anything. Chapter 5, Bhagavan Krishna will say that. The Jnani knows that the closing of the eyes, this blinking of the eyes, and the breathing, and the eating, and the sleeping, and this, and all the actions that I do are done by the ego, taken this thing, but I don't do them. I is the capital I. This principle of reflection, reflected consciousness has to be understood very clearly to understand what ego is and to neutralize it. The whole sadhana, the whole self-effort is to neutralize the ego. And to neutralize something, you cannot pay attention to it. You cannot give it importance. It's like a truant child. If the child is acting naughty, if the mother pays attention to the child is going to do it more. Don't you agree?
Yes.
Right? The child is crying a little bit, oh, mommy will go, what happened? He'll cry even loudly. They crying. Mom is looking the other way. No effect only on mom. Forget it. Let me not cry. What we do is we are constantly paying so much attention to the ego, and the problem is we don't recognize it. See, it's not that we are doing it purposely. We don't know, and that's why the importance of this knowledge. That is why the importance of satsang, that every single time it has to be hammered into us that what you're paying importance to is your ego, and it is illusory. You're paying attention to an illusory entity. And what do we mean by illusory is the dependent reality. Please understand that it has no independent reality.
Okay.
That's why it says here, identifying with them. Identify. So when I identify with my body, mind, intellect, equipment, the one who is identifying is the ego. And that's why don't identify. And when I say don't identify means what? Means don't say I do, say this is happening in my presence. That is what is separating you. This is the practice that we have to do to neutralize the ego. It has to be thinned out. It's suddenly, if you know who it goes for, the ones who gain knowledge. But even to come to a stage of gaining that knowledge, a lot of sadhana is required.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. So, did you have a question, Abhimanyu, or can I move forward?
Yes, as we are on this, when an unrealized person passes on, because the ego is still there, don't have enough knowledge to get rid of it and be realized. That mind is still there, so that still reflects.
You're telling me the way...
It still reflects the consciousness. That's why it goes forward into a next being.
Okay, let me repeat your question, because this is what I have understood, and I don't know whether that is a misunderstanding. You said that when a realized master passes away, the ego is still there. That's what you said. That's what I heard.
When a person is not realized.
Okay, so an ignorant person.
Yeah.
Correct. So when an ignorant person passes away, definitely what is passing away is a separation of that subtle body from the gross body. The ego is there. It'll get carried into the next birth.
Okay, because the mind is still part, they're still reflecting.
Subtle body is there. That is what is called as Jivatma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, thanks.
Okay, shall we move?
So, Jayaji, this Chidabhas is the same thing that they refer in chapter 13 also, right?
Chidabhasa is the reflection, yes.
And it's the same.
Chidabhasa.
Chidabhasa. They in chapter 13 when they talk about.
Where in chapter 13 is Chidabhasa coming?
Like when he's describing the kshetra.
Yes, he says, yes, Chidabhasa is kshetra. Correct. Absolutely right. Good connection. That's why he said Chidabhasa is kshetra. He doesn't say Chidabhasa is kshetrajna. That is what we are studying here.
Yeah.
It is illusory. It has an illusory reality. It has a dependent reality. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
Ahankara savidneyaha karta bhokta bhimanyayam sattva diguna yogena chavasthatrayam ashnute. Know that it is the ego which, identifying with the body, becomes the doer. You know, when I say I do, I run, I walk. Or the experiencer. I am happy, I feel sad, I was worried. All experience. And in union with the gunas such as sattva, this ego assumes the three different states of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. So in the waking state, it is identified with the sattva guna. That's why now in chapter 14, we will study that this waking state is the play of the sattva guna. I have got nothing to do with the waking state. This is what you're going to study. The dream is a play of Rajas. I have got nothing to do with Rajas. I am beyond Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Gunatita Purusha. Bhagavan says, the one who rises above the gunas is a realized master. And then deep sleep, Tamas, where there is absolutely, the experience is I know nothing. There is an experience even in deep sleep, and it is an experience of nothing. I knew nothing. Is deep sleep. That is identification with tamas. So when I get up in the morning and I say I had a very restful sleep, you know what it is, very simply put. You say I, and anything beyond that you say belongs to the ego. I slept well, I didn't sleep well, I had a dream, I did not have a dream, I remember my dream, I don't remember my dream. All these actions that are happening, they are happening because of the ego. The ego is saying that. So the correct thing would be the body slept well. The body is well rested. It's not easy, but at least we have to know this. We have to see, if we don't know this only, which I didn't know, honestly. Before I came into the mission, we were growing up, we didn't know, right? Now we know. Now we can work at it. Knowledge is power. Remember that. Knowledge is power. So once you come to know, that's why Vedanta is not only just listening, but it is the practice as well. And therefore we have to listen and listen and listen, and then we have to practice it. It has to show in our life. I was walking with a friend of mine, and there are these Marathi lectures that are going on, which are Advaita Vedanta. And she said that her son, he's an adult, he says that, oh, you know, he knows all that. She said, my son says he knows. So what is the point in listening? but the son is exhibiting extreme fear, and I call it paranoia. My daughter says that's a negative term, but he is so paranoid about COVID. I said, if he knows, what he knows is only information. Because if he had the real knowledge, he shouldn't be exhibiting that kind of fear. So you see what how your behavior is will tell you how much you're established in the knowledge. So if you have got all these kinds of fears, establishment is not there. You have heard, intellectually you know, which is good, which is one step better than not knowing. But what happens in this case, you have that information that itself is giving the ego. Now what, I know what he's talking, I know, why should I listen again? And I said, that is the reason that we have to listen again and again and again and again and again, is because to get established, to get firm in that knowledge. Because half knowledge will give only ego. It will strengthen ego. See, ego doesn't want to die. Who wants to die? Nobody wants to die, right? Ego is the last one. I told you. That's why I told you in the beginning. Duryodhan is ego. He was the last one to die. Ego does not want to die. And so what happens is that ego will start fattening. I know so much. Why should I listen to her? Why should I listen to him? Whatever he says, I know. Oh, that I know. That I know. That I know. Are you afraid? Yeah, I am. What if I die of COVID? That means you don't know. You have information. Information doesn't take out fear. Knowledge does. Knowledge will take out fear. The firm knowledge that you are not the body, and whatever that is happening to the body. It is not happening to me. That is establishment in that knowledge, firm conviction. That is what Manisha Panchakam is all about. Manisha Mama, he says. It is my firm conviction that a person who knows he is not the body, mind, and intellect is a realized master. And this is not an intellectual knowing. It is an experiential knowledge. And so here he says, no, knowledge, know that it is the ego which is doing. And the ego thinks I'm doing, and the ego only thinks I will enjoy. Okay? It is not the supreme reality. I have identified with the ego. Ego identifies with the mind and takes on the attributes of the mind. And then there is a mutual superimposition, which we'll talk later, between the ego and the supreme reality. And then this thing comes out. Okay. Next one. Vishayanamanukulye sukhi dukhi viparyaye sukham dukkham cha taddharmaha sadanandasya natmanaha. When the sense objects are conducive, the situation is happy. When they are non-conducive, it is miserable. Happiness and misery are therefore the dharmas of the ego and do not belong to the Atman, which is ever blissful, which I've already explained. See, and what is the proof of this? This is Shastra is saying this. Bhagwan has said this, Bhagwan Shankaracharya, and our scriptures are saying exactly the same thing. But I will give you proof also. You know, logical minds say, okay, scripture said it. See, those who are heart-oriented, now they'll say, oh, Bhagwan said it, na, that's it. I don't have to go any further. Bhagwan Shankaracharya said that means it's true. That is from the mind, from the heart. So that is faith. But those of us who are very, not us, those of you who I am not intellectual. So in deep sleep, that is the proof. See, deep sleep is the proof. Now you are extremely happy about something. Okay, during the day, or you're extremely sad about something, fine, or you're getting a headache. I have done that. I used to get tension headaches. I would go to sleep rather than take a Tylenol or something. I'm like, okay, let me just go to sleep. And do you experience that happiness, or do you experience that sorrow, or do you experience that headache in your deep sleep? You tell me. Have you said that I slept so well, but all night I was feeling the headache? Or all night I worried about my child or something? I slept very well, but I slept very... Do we say like that? Or do we say, oh my God, you know, I slept, I even forgot that I have to get up in the morning and go to work or something? Ego is folded in deep sleep. Remember that. The ego is folded, and that's why the ego in waking state, the ego is in full form, and in waking that ego is experiencing this happiness, sadness, headache, stomachache, stomach upset, whatever. But when it folds in deep sleep, none of these experiences are there, which is the proof. This is actual proof that it belongs to the ego, or you can say it belongs to the mind. It does not belong to the supreme reality, because in deep sleep, the subtle body is folded, the gross body is folded, and what is only shining is the supreme reality. But there is no experience of happiness or worry or headache or whatever ache. Do you agree?
Jayaji,
Yes.
I had a question.
Mm-hmm.
So if is that why certain people, because the ego would be the reflection. So if the water is muddy, if your mind is restless, then your ego would change from day to day. Because some people have supreme ego all the time. Others, some days they have to be more vocal about the things they feel. So that's what would account for that then?
Yeah. See, when you say the water is muddy, that is the gunas. So when the water is absolutely clean and calm, when the mind is absolutely calm, that is an expression of a sattva guna. This is the play of the gunas that is doing it to the mind. And when the bucket is, say, is being somebody shaking it, or maybe an earthquake is happening and the water is restless. So when the mind is restless, it is an expression of rajoguna. And when the mind in deep sleep is, if it's muddy, water, we say it's absolutely muddy, means the reflection is hardly going to be shining in that muddy waters. So these are the play of the gunas, and the ego identifies with them. Identifying with the mind, it is identifying with the gunas as well.
So some people, like if they watch a horror movie,
Yeah,
then the next day they're miserable.
Yeah, sleep also is miserable. For me, I'm telling you, if I watch some murder thing, I don't watch. Violence, I don't like to watch before going to bed, because even my sleep is disturbed then. That's why it happens. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. We have to recognize this. Once you recognize it now, and once you get established in the knowledge, anytime the ego comes up, you hit it. It's like a snake. So the snake has to be crushed every time. So the ego will, like how the snake will come up to sting you, the ego comes up like that. The minute it comes up, recognize it, tone it down. Tone it down. So when you feel happy and then you want to declare it to the whole world, cool down. Chill. Like my children said, chill, mom, chill. So when there is happiness and you want to go, yeah, I want to tell, 100 different people, chill. Chill. When you're sad and you're going down into depression, chill. Even this too shall pass. Remember the Vedantic saying, even this too shall pass. And chill. Be chilled. Vedanta is be chill. No need to get excited about anything. We'll go into the self next time. Oh, before I forget, next week is a long weekend. So February 12th, we will not have a class next Friday. And then on February 19th, there will be a class. Okay, that is just before our yajna. And then February 26th, of course, no class because Swamiji will be doing the yajna. So I hope that all of you have registered. Swamiji, the flyer is going to 800 plus people because that is their mailing list. The Balvihar parents are 800 plus. Families are registered in Balvihar, so they will all be getting it. Also, Swamiji's newsletter, Chinmaya Mission LA newsletter comes out. It will be advertised in the newsletter. I've told Swamiji, Dinesh, thank you very much for registering Swamiji. And Swamiji doesn't need a pre-trial or whatever. He's going to just log in on the 22nd. And I've told him that we will, how many registrations do we have, Dinesh?
Right now it's 58.
58. Okay, so we need more. So you have not yet taken the 500, right? But keep an eye on it.
No, not yet.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on it, because Swamiji said to me that he's sending it to 800 plus people. And I told him, Swamiji, please ask them to register so that we know, and we will take a license for 500. So there's no need to worry about anything. So 58 is, that means our full membership also has not registered. Maybe we want to send it once again to the contact list, Dinesh?
Yeah,
The
I'll be
email?
doing that soon. Yeah,
Great.
this weekend.
Okay. How many of you here have not registered?
Jayaji, Dinesh ji, I have registered myself. I'm Mohini here. I have registered myself, but then I got, and you send me that I'm registered, that thing. But after that, we got again that this information that this yajna is going there. It's on orange paper, but it says register again.
No. But now you register only once. We are repeatedly sending it to remind people who have not registered.
Okay.
So you're going to get that email again.
Okay.
Just in case somebody forgot or somebody this thing, we are going to we do that. We'll keep sending reminders till the last day.
No, it's a orange one. It's a different one. It's the on the background is orange.
Flyer.
I think it came from Swamiji. I got that one from Swamiji as well.
Oh, okay. So that's come. So you guys are on Swamiji's list.
Yeah.
Okay. So there you go. So, but if you're registered, you don't have to register separately for Swamiji's email or anything.
Okay, because the numbers are different. The passcode and this and that. It's a little bit.
Oh.
Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm surprised about that one.
That's,
Abhimanyu, do you want to forward that email to
Yes,
Dinesh, please, and Dinesh will take a look at it?
Okay, will do.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Jayaji, this is Rupa here.
Yes.
So when we say separation, is it the same as awareness? Because when we are aware, somehow the ego doesn't seem to exist at that time in its fullness in any situation. So when what you said, separate yourself from the ego, is it the same as having an awareness for that situation that's happening or the whatever?
Yes. Yes. Being aware. Most of the time we are not aware. See, we get a thought, we just run with the thought, na?
Yeah.
So if you're aware, yeah, that's what's meant by be in awareness. Correct.
Jayaji, I have a question.
Okay, one second. Suman, was it Suman or Suman? Okay, Suman, you go first. Trupti, just 1 minute.
Yeah. Okay. So when we say that I am fat, I am short, something, instead of we just say that it's my body, I have nothing to do with it. So if I'm happy or I'm sad, I say it has to do with the mind. It's not anything to do with me. So maybe this is the start for us to start, start getting rid of ego little by little.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. But one thing I will remind you once again, all of you, if I say, I should say that I'm not, but that doesn't mean that you don't exercise to reduce the weight of your body. Okay, I'm not, the body is fat. It's okay, let the body be obese. No. You do take care of the body, but not because I want to look beautiful, but because the body has to be healthy. Because unless the body is healthy, I can't do satsang and I can't study.
This is the instrument we have to work with. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Tripti?
My question was somewhat similar, that how do you differentiate between whenever you have a thought that between your ego and whether I am doing it or I should not be doing it? So how do you differentiate?
No. See, whether I should do or not do is a function of the ego, and the thought of doing or not doing, which is the mind, right? Because mind is the thoughts in doubting. Mind is the doubting Thomas, right? Okay. So when that doubt is there, it is there, and then a decision is made, right? So when the decision is made, instead of saying that I made the decision, you say the easiest way is, thank you, Lord, you helped me take this decision.
Yep. Okay.
What we do is, I decided and I did, and look, now I won the lottery. I bought that. I should be toned down.
So yeah, basically what I was asking is how do we down the ego? Like
The
how
ego,
do we,
one thing is by surrendering the thought. Na?
yeah.
So even when the thought comes, I had given this example when I had lost my my driver's license. You see, the thought came to me that I should go retrace my steps. And I said, thank you, Lord. The thought actually came to me of Karmanne Vadika Raste, Ma Phaleshu Kadachana. That verse came to my mind, Bhagavad Gita verse. And I said, yeah, that's right. I must do the karma. I must go and walk that again, that full 1 hour. If I have to walk, I have to go walk. That action is in my hands. And then immediately the thought, thank you, Lord, you gave me this thought. So immediately the ego is surrendered.
Okay.
Or you think of your guru also. That is fine too. Your spiritual guru also. He gave you the thought, she, that's fine too.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
So,
Okay.
Jay,
Yes.
what happens to all the eyes we have already accumulated?
In knowledge, when you get the knowledge, all those eyes will get destroyed. So this practice you start and you work, it's a journey. It's a journey. Okay. So when you reach the destination, and you may reach it in this life or it may come after many births, but at that moment of knowledge, when that realization actually happens, everything will be instantly burnt. The sanchita and the agami karmas will be instantly burnt. But you have to work towards it. Now, journey it is. You have to start, get on the train, right? Get on the train, then the destination will come. So we don't even know how to get on the train. That's why the satsang is required. That's why the hammering is required. We don't even know that this is the play of the ego. We think it's me. I am doing it, right? So that's why. Okay. We'll stop here. So,
Jayaji, Darshat here. Sorry, I had to unmute myself for asking a question.
Okay. Are you on the phone?
I am on the phone today, yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
If I have a difference of opinion with somebody, say at workplace, and I decide not to argue but distance myself from that person, is that an ego? And if so, is there a better way to deal with that situation?
It depends on what the argument is about. Okay. So if it is a work-related argument, suppose there is some process and you have the right process and he has the wrong process, you need to continue it, because at work, you are identified with your work. You have to be identified with your work. So if the difference is about work, that, you know, this is not the correct way of doing this, and when you think that this is the correct way, you must hold on to it, and you must, but you are surrendered to your company at that point. Because your work itself is the higher altar. See, work also is higher altar. But if there is an unnecessary argument, like, you know, I should wear a mask, I should not, walk away from unnecessary arguments. Now it's oh, should I take the vaccine? Should I not? Just say, you know, do whatever you want to do, Baba, I'm going to do it, and just walk away. But if it is related to your work, and especially if you're right, then you must hold on to it.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Welcome. All right. So we'll close now. Om swasti prajabhyah paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahishaha go brahmanebhyah shubhamastu nityam loka samasta sukhino bhavantu kale varshatu parjanyaha prithvi sasya shalini desho yam kshobarahita brahmana santu nirbhayaha. Om sarvesham swasti bhavatu sarvesham shantir bhavatu sarvesham purnam bhavatu sarvesham mangalam bhavatu sarve bhavantu sukhinah sarve santu niramayaha sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kashchid dukha bhag bhavet. Om asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om purnamadav purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnameva avashishyate. Om shanti shanti shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Hari Om, everybody.